This is TWiT.
The Palantir in Lord of the Rings, is that Saruman or Sauron's? It was the ancient wizards set up Palantirs so that they could see what was...
We're going to go through this now.
No,
Fantasy
I
hour.
refuse to be on a show that takes the Lord of the Rings.
No.
Well, that's where the name comes from. I'm just saying.
Nobody cares.
I'm just saying there were giant crystal balls that were spread around the earth, and you could see what was going on from one Palantir to another.
Done.
It was
You're
for
done.
communications. And
Let's talk about
when Peter Thiel, former PayPaler, founded a new company in 2003, he named it Palantir, which tells you a little bit of kind of what its goals were. It's been a kind of a hushed, shrouded in secrecy kind of a company until now. It's about to issue its first IPO, kind of a weird IPO. It's not a traditional IPO. It's and I don't really understand what it does. I know that it doesn't make money. It's quite good at losing money. But the idea is that it uses artificial intelligence to extract data, which it sells to a variety of people, including the immigration control in the United States, which has been a little controversial. They sell it to state and local governments, healthcare industries, financial. They've been involved in tracking COVID-19, I think, to the good. So they are going to go. They were valued in 2014 at $9 billion. 2015 at $15 billion, $20 billion late that year. They've never, ever reported a profit, which is my mistake, I think, because we were profitable. And I think the best thing would have been for us to lose more money. We'd be worth a hell of a lot more.
Jeff Bezos strung that out for a long time.
Yeah, but the market knew very well that he could make money anytime he chose to. That was kind of more of an accounting thing. So Alex Karp, who is a very did you know that Alex Karp did his PhD under Habermas?
I know that I saw him at a conference in Vienna where he chose to do his interview in German. He
speaks fluent French, German, and English.
Mm-hmm. Show off.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
He's I would say a bright guy. His his PhD thesis under Habermas was let me see if I can find it, because it was
in fact, just now I was digging back in to my Habermas.
Yeah. Is Habermas still alive?
I have a headache. Oh yeah.
Someone should explain to those of us who are not intellectually elite who and what Habermas means.
I'll be honest, I would have no idea if Jeff didn't invoke his name all the time.
I'm scrambling through the rundown.
He's a historian who is credited with the concept of the public sphere. And he argued that it arose in the salons and coffee houses of the 18th century in England and France. There are many who disagree with him and think that publicness was created otherwise, but he has that analysis, and that's what he says.
So Karp is kind of an.
You want to go back to Palantirs now and all that, which is worse, Habermas or Palantirs? I wonder.
Well, no, I've got I have read The Lord of the Rings, so I had context there. I just didn't want to spend all my time on it.
Watch out!
I'm
going to go into Gutenberg. It's not a big leap from Habermas to Gutenberg at all in my head, but I'll refrain.
As long as we don't have Leifstung, whatever that was.
So you can tell me what this means. This is his PhD thesis, Alex Karp's Aggression in der Lebenswelt. What is that? The free world?
Aggression in the life's world. The Erweiterung der Person.
He writes about jargon, aggression, and culture. And it is, of course, in German, because it was the Frankfurt Institute under Habermas that he wrote this. So Karp, I think you could probably argue, is a fairly sharp fellow. He's been, I think he's more a businessman than anything else. He inherited money from his grandfather, which he invested. In fact, he created a private investment firm in the UK called Caedmon and made money there. Was hired a year after the founding of Palantir to run it. So he's been there since 2004. In any event, the reason I bring all of this up is as part of the IPO, the CEO of Palantir, Alex Karp, has written a letter which is kind of interesting, and I thought maybe we could talk about it. It turns out none of you have read it, so I'll give you a little bit of it. It's not really long, but here it is from CNBC. It starts, our welfare and security depend on effective software. Remember, the business of Palantir is essentially data mining, but he makes a big distinction between data mining for good and data mining for evil.
Which is fascinating because everyone presumes that Palantir does evil thing.
Yeah. Our software platforms are used by the United States and its allies around the world. Many of the world's most vital institutions, he writes, from defense and intelligence agencies to companies in healthcare, energy, and manufacturing sectors, rely on the software platforms we built. Our customers come to us because their technological infrastructure has failed them. The enterprise software industry's focus on custom software tools and applications is misplaced. These approaches often only work briefly, if at all. The problems and needs of an organization often change before software can even be deployed. Our partners need something more. They need generalizable platforms for modeling the world and making decisions. And this is what we've built. This is, by the way, the first time anybody's really said what Palantir does.
I don't think that's true. I really want to quibble with that because we have been saying this. It's an easy cheat to say that we don't know what they do. And you actually said machine learning earlier. Palantir is just a platform for data analytics. That has not been a secret at all. Mm-hmm. And what is a secret is all the resources they're using and how effective it is.
How they do
However,
not what they do as much as how they do it, I guess.
Right? And as Stacey said, whether they're actually good at it. I think that's a really important point, Stacey.
And I think they are really good at it, and that's what scares people. So back to the letter. I hate when people are like, they're so evil and secretive. I'm like, no, they're not. They say what they do. We just
But Stacey, how do we know they're
weird motives.
Are people giving them
how do we know they're good
connotation because of the government ties?
Yeah. I think that's
well,
reason.
There's a lot to unpack here, and we will. But we know they're good at it because ICE, Immigrations and Custom Enforcement in the U.S., has been using it very effectively to mine social data of immigrants and people in communities that have immigrants to pick them up. That New York Times did some great reporting on that fairly recently.
But Karp was quick to say, as others have, that they don't have anything to do with putting kids in cages. They're looking for people who snuck into the country.
Things ICE does.
Yeah, there's other things they do.
There's a big menu.
But they're looking for people who've broken the law. So,
even that.
So have they broken? And this is where we get to. We can make laws. There's a difference between laws and justice. There's when you start thinking about laws, we can have unequal enforcement of the laws, but in living in what is becoming a surveillance state, we can unjustly enforce those laws, which we're having protests right
something
now
interesting
about.
To say about that. But that, in that case, I guess the question is, do you blame Palantir or do you blame the lawmakers?
I think you blame both the lawmakers, but you also look at the tools they're using. You can't give someone a pass for designing the nuclear bomb. Right? I mean, even the scientists who worked on that were like, oh, they did it. And so the question becomes then, and you could say that but
there's still an argument even about the nuclear bomb, which is clearly used against people. But there's still an argument to be made that it shortened the war. It might have saved lives. I remember going to Nagasaki and seeing the classroom of children that was incinerated by the nuclear bomb, and it's a tragic thing to see. One
of the American generals insisted that I just finished reading the book about John Hersey and Hiroshima, that radiation poisoning was a pleasant way to die.
Oh, not so.
Yeah.
So,
Ant, I'm sorry, I was cutting over you when I was asking Stacey my question. You were saying something.
Oh no, I was just concerned because he started out saying that people assume they're evil when all they're doing is just, as what Mrs. Stacey said, was collecting data and analyzing data. And you're going to assume it's evil because it's working with the different branches of the government. I don't think that's fair.
Yeah, I agree with you. Let me continue on. Because one of the things Karp does in this letter is really excoriate Silicon Valley. He says, you're looking at the wrong people. We're not the bad guys here. First of all, he says, at many organizations, Silicon Valley, employees spend their days, even their careers, posturing for others, concerned with claiming credit for success and avoiding blame for failure. We have rejected...
What does that mean?
Oh, that's just being all fussy and,
He's claiming in this letter, and remember, this letter is written for potential investors to make the case for why you should invest in us, right? So this is to pitch his company, right?
I'm better than that. Okay.
The culture of our company is more than a mere byproduct of the people we choose to hire. Our culture and means of organizing ourselves are preconditions for the creation of effective software. We identify what needs to be done and organize ourselves around the outcomes that we hope to achieve. Entire companies can subsist for years on business models that may have made sense at some point in the past. In the short term, there are often profits to be extracted from the enterprise and from customers, but we've rejected this way of working. The alignment of interest between our employees and our company, and between our company and our customers, is one of the principal reasons we've come as far as we have. Now, this is where he starts to get mad at Silicon Valley. And it actually, Stacey, I'd be really interested what you think about this. So our work and the use of our software present difficult questions. So he acknowledges what we're talking about here. The construction of software platforms that enable more effective surveillance by the state of its adversaries, or that assist soldiers in executing attacks, raises countless issues involving the points of tension and trade-offs between our collective security and individual privacy, the power of machines, and the types of lives we both want to and should lead. The ethical challenges that arise are constant and unrelenting. So he's basically saying we don't ignore that.
He's owning up to it.
Yeah,
nice.
we accept it.
Well, let's see what choices he chooses to make, and that's how you judge them. It's not enough to say there are ethical challenges.
The fundamental issue is where authority to resolve such questions, to decide how technology may be used and by whom should reside. Our society has effectively outsourced the building of software that makes our world possible. Now, this is where he really starts to get critical of Silicon Valley, to a small group of engineers in an isolated corner of the country. The question is whether we also want to outsource the adjudication of some of the most consequential moral and philosophical questions of our time. The engineering elite of Silicon Valley may know more than most about building software, but they do not know more about how society should be organized or what justice requires. I think this is an interesting...
I'm going to come back up, but Stacey, you first.
No, I was just going to say yes.
Yes.
It is an interesting letter.
Yeah, don't you think?
But...
Well, no. So I heard him do the spiel in Vienna 2 years ago. And what he's saying, and this is regulatory capture, is what's happening here. What he's saying is...
Don't blame us.
Sorry. We shouldn't make any of these decisions.
Yeah, don't blame
government
us.
should make them.
Don't blame us for what we're doing.
And then don't blame us, right? Because government should make the decisions. We shouldn't make the decisions. So you do it, and we'll just do whatever the hell we want within those limitations, and then we're going to go wild. And I heard him then as a cop-out.
But wait,
and I think this
it is an abdication of the individual's role in participating in moral society. But I do think...
Well said.
Okay.
But he is saying... let me go on. Next section, section 4. Our company was founded in Silicon Valley, but we seem to share fewer and fewer of the technology sector's values and commitments. This is something we talk about a lot on this show. From the start, we've repeatedly turned down opportunities to sell, collect, or mine data. Other technology companies, including some of the largest in the world, Google, have built their entire businesses on doing just that. Software projects with our nation's defense and intelligence agencies, whose missions are to keep us safe, have become controversial, while companies built on advertising dollars are commonplace. For many consumer internet companies, our thoughts and inclinations, behaviors, and browsing habits are the product for sale. The slogans and marketing of many of the Valley's largest technology firms attempt to obscure this simple fact. The world's largest consumer internet companies have never had greater access to the most intimate aspects of our lives, and the advance of their technologies has outpaced the development of the forms of political control that are capable of governing their use.
And Palantir is serving people with guns, and Google is not.
So, yes, he's not wrong here. Oh, go on, Ant.
No. You go. I stepped on you. Didn't mean to.
No, I want. You have not said a word. Do it. Ant.
Well, right there, they're pointing at the likes of Google, but aren't they still doing the same thing? Just collecting data, analyzing data, figuring out a way to air quotes sell that to their client for some sort of profit.
Yes, but they said, but the purpose is different. They say our software isn't used to collect your personal data for marketing. Our software is used to target terrorists and to keep soldiers safe. If we're going to ask someone to put themselves in harm's way, we believe we have a duty to give them what they need to do their job. We have chosen sides, and we know that our partners value our commitment. We stand by them when it's convenient and when it's not. So what he's really saying...
They're a weapons manufacturer.
Yes.
Well, I was going to say they're software. Like an arms dealer.
Yeah.
They are.
Let's take this to the Marvel universe. They are Tony Stark pre his Iron Man debut. And the debate we're about to have, was it Age of Ultron? No. Which one was it where they were, the big debate is they're launching the little satellites up in the air to like understand what everyone's doing before.
Help Stacey out here.
Was that Civil War?
Come on, y'all. Was that Civil War?
I can't remember.
I think it was Civil War, actually. No.
I can't remember. Ask me about planes, trains, and automobiles, and we can talk.
I think, all right, just
Civil War, says Flojo.
So the point, so the point is, in the plot line there was that to prevent terrorism, you have to know everything about everybody and have the ability to take them out before they do evil. This is that's an exaggeration of this argument, but that's what's happening. And this is a very simplistic view of the world. And yes, he's not wrong about Google, but it's very common and it's easy to say, I'm going to abdicate my moral responsibility to my customers. And I've made my moral decision by supporting the aims of my customers. But that ignores, like Tony Stark, ignored the fact that creating these wars is not great and that those arms can get into other hands and that there is inherent damage from this. And so you can't, and we don't live in the Marvel universe, right? We live in the real world. So you have to say, I think you constantly have to evaluate this. And you may have to say, yeah, we're okay, using people's data and don't collect the data. Their customers collect the data for them and give it to them, and then they analyze it and come up with, they create the platform for it.
Okay.
And we're okay putting people in jail that it may not be just, but it follows the law. And that's what they do. And this letter is just.
I don't think he's abrogating. I think you're saying that he's abrogating responsibility for what he's doing. I think he's saying, look, we use similar technology to that of the big advertising companies like Facebook and Google, but we feel that we have a higher calling. We're using that information to save lives, to protect our nation, to act the will of society, as opposed to the chasing the money for
what about
for marketing, that we have a higher principle.
Yeah, I get that. But saying that's your higher principle.
Well, it is a higher.
Everyone's still about it.
We might disagree.
Look,
I think one thing we all agree on is perhaps we don't agree with what the United States decides, what our current government has decided to do with this information. But if you put that aside and say, look, the purpose of government, of civil society, is to express the will of the people, and it is, no one is saying you shouldn't have a military, right? Or maybe you are saying
there are people who are actually.
I know people say that, but
military
put it to policing. Put it to policing, right? So we had this discussion before about facial recognition, and you were both on the case of yes, cut it off because you don't know how police are going to use it. They're going to use it badly. They should not have it.
They shouldn't have it because it is not currently as it exists. It's not reliable. You don't even know what Palantir is doing. You don't even know what conclusions are going to be placed. You don't even know where they're going because there's no transparency here because it's all secretive. And so it could be worse than that. That's actually a good point. Yet you're somehow saying, it's okay here because we don't know. No, that's a very good point. It would be better. I would trust this letter better if they were more open about what they do and how they do it. I agree with you.
I don't think
But
it
it seems like they're
matters.
taking a bit of a moral high road. When,
Oh, absolutely. That's their point.
You know,
Okay. They're so
because
sanctimonious.
let's just look at this in a simpleton standpoint. And the first thing that come to my mind was Google and Google Maps. And I'm a commuter that's not making a lot of money, but I have to get to work on time every day. And it saves me a little bit of money to bypass tolls or what have you. So Google knows, okay, you need to take this route to bypass tolls. It's watching me and saying, hey, you know what? You might want to turn left here instead of turning right over there, because you'll be able to get to work on time a little bit faster and you're able to avoid the tolls. That's a big help to some people. And it's a lot of privacy implications there, but that is a big help and convenient for some people. Why are they trying to say that's just something horrible that Google is doing?
No, they're saying no. I don't think that they're talking about that. They're talking about the fact.
Well, no,
that
that's what I
Did
said.
you just
That's
apply
a simpleton version
utilitarianism
of it.
morals to Google?
I think he did.
Did that just happen? That was awesome,
But-
Ant. I love it.
But I don't think that's the criticism he's making. I think he's saying, look at these companies. Don't kid yourself. Google's business and Facebook's business is to collect everything they know about you, so they could sell that to the highest to market.
Yeah, that's why I said the
for
simpleton
advertising.
version of it.
So
I know
No,
I'm
it's
not
not simple at all. You're exactly right, Ant. But
and
it's also
that's
like
the
Apple.
trade-off that you and I make. We use Google knowing perfectly well that they're going to do that because we get value. There's utility in the stuff they give us in return.
Well,
so we're
Right.
making an economic decision, which is ours to make, saying, look, I'm going to use I'm going to have a Google camera in my house because it's very useful to me for a variety of reasons. I know what they're doing with that information, but I think that's a fair
also,
trade.
I would say you have to also consider is Google doesn't actually have access to the power of the state. And Palantir's data collection comes with the arm. It serves the power of the state. And he's using that as an awesome thing, right? Which is great, in terms of his worldview. But the state can do all kinds of things to a citizen with that data that Google cannot. So he doesn't really talk about that. And he just kind of elides that point with the fact that, we've all agreed to this with the morals, as a society. But we really haven't. And
what states, by the way?
we
Is he
haven't
right?
won because there's not true. What?
Well, and then he may say, well, that don't take that up with me. Take that up with government. If the government is not reflecting your desire.
That is what he's saying.
Yeah.
Which government people? Is he doing it? Is he doing it for Turkey? Is he doing it for Hungary? Is he doing it for China? We don't know.
No. He says very specifically. Now he hasn't. I don't know about Hungary and Turkey, but he's very specifically said we have chosen not to give that information to China because we don't. Our leadership believes that this is the quote. This is in their S1 filing. Our leadership believes that working with the Chinese Communist Party is inconsistent with our culture and mission. We do not consider any sales opportunities within the Chinese Communist Party. Do not host our platforms in China.
So that's the only country he names?
He names it as a risk.
What about Brazil?
He names the reason he names it as a risk.
What about Poland?
Stop. Let me finish. The reason he names it as a risk is because it's a very, very large market. He says our unwillingness to work with China could hamper growth given that it's the world's second largest economy, but here's why we don't do it. We to promote respect for and defend privacy and civil liberties protections. So they don't bring up Turkey, but it's not a very big economy. They may well not choose to work with Turkey. I don't know. I think you hit the nail on the head though, Jeff. All of this is fine if they're open about what they do and how they do it. But because it's a black box, nobody's getting to weigh in on what he's up to. He's just saying, well, no, the government knows.
Right, and it's like the stuff that Snowden revealed. Right, this is for your good. We're doing this in your interest. We are the government, which one would hope to wish to believe. But in the case of what Snowden revealed, no, don't do that in my name.
Yes.
We don't want that done in our name.
Yes.
And in this case, it's not just that was just privacy. Right, I'm not diminishing the importance of privacy, folks. It's important, but it's a hell of a lot more to stop people at the border
Stacey's
or
right.
to arrest people presumptively because you think they could be doing something bad, or to target bombs in Iraq or Afghanistan.
Right. Like the Winter Soldier.
Yes.
Winter Soldier.
Thank you, chat room. I was like,
Evil John in the chat room says, he's a war profiteer. That makes it legal, but doesn't make it ethical.
Oh.
Right.
So
I'm kinda with that.
I actually, when I read this, I liked it, the moral high ground he took. But I think you guys have really punctured it with the problems. And the chief problem for me is its complete lack of transparency about what they do.
You know what? Also, Leo, I think it's a little bit like Apple, where Apple took a disadvantage. It couldn't sell ads, didn't know how to, and turned that into a feature and said, oh, we're wonderful. Well, right now in the last weeks, now that Epic is going after them, now Epic is painting Apple as the evil company. Yeah, they may not be evil in advertising, but they're evil in taking 30% of my business, right? So, you know, and I got argument. It is.
Well, wait, okay. So let's not take profiting. And I wouldn't even call that profiteering. That's just a business decision. And
I agree with you.
Evil. I don't think it's evil.
Yeah. I agree. No, but I'm saying people are calling them evil. I agree. No, I agree with you absolutely.
I know. We're so quick to call everything evil.
Yeah. When a reporter came after me and tried to get me to say it was evil, I said it's negotiation. He's got more power than most Epic does, right? Has more power than most now. He's trying to use it to reduce the rate. It's business. It's always been business. You know, that's what it is. So no, I agree with you, Stacey. But I'm just saying that the presumption that facial recognition technology out of Amazon is evil and wrong, right, is no different from saying that Palantir is evil or right. We don't know enough.
This is a very good conversation. I'm glad. I had a feeling when I read this that you would all have something to say about it, and you've absolutely clarified my thinking a little bit.